Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be going over U.S. Nationals Day 1 recap, kind of give you a breakdown of what happened with the metagame, some of the keynote events, and as well as talk about some of the things the players are talking about on the Twitterverse. So if you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Feel free to check out the rest of the videos on the channel. I cover Alpha Clash and Flesh and Blood, and just do a little bit of both. So if you're interested in either of those games, feel free to check it out. And yeah, we'll get right into it. So if you're not aware, Flesh and Blood does an article section on their website, fabtcg.com, and most of the time they'll do different articles on event coverage, especially big events. They have a Nationals live stream coverage where they have like a bunch of different countries that are streaming their games. So if you're interested in that, feel free to check it out. And then they also, for you US-based folks or people who are interested in it, they have a U.S. Nationals live blog. It is the biggest Nationals, and it's something that they're wanting to cover. So they have like social media, standings, and live stream. If you click into stuff like standings, you can do any of these different ones. And then they have the national championship. Now, if you go to standings, they don't give hero breakdowns. We'll get to that in a second. But they do give some of the top names and the top tables. And we see some top names already kind of forming themselves in position after day one. Michael Hamilton, obviously, big one. Majin Bay, Michael Fang, Holden Isaacs, let's see here, Pat Eschke, Riley Adams, just already big ones. All these names are very notable, but those are some of the big ones, and you can kind of see, where people are shaping up, right? You also can look at the live stream and stuff like that, and then they go through the article where they just talk about the event itself, and they talk about the meta breakdown, which is what we're going to get into next. But really good resource. Highly suggest checking it out because it's too good to not follow. So going into the meta, sorry for the little bit of blurriness for this video, but when you blow up the picture that they have on the article, there's like hardly any way to make it not this way, but we're going to look through it. So Lexi dominating the constructed metagame, right? Now, day one was 4 rounds of classic constructed and then 3 rounds of draft, so you have to be good at both. However, Lexi obviously dominating the format. I'll do my big wide spreadsheet on percentage and stuff, but I feel like just showing you the numbers is better here until we get like exactly what happened in day one. But Lexi at 117, Icelander at 64. I think that's zero surprise. Everyone expected those two heroes to be the top 2. It's actually very closer than I thought. Dromai coming in at 63. I was not expecting that many Dromai. I was expecting Dromai to be 4th. I was thinking Bravo is going to be 3rd. Bravo's close 4th at 57. Briar at 48. Dash at 27, so on and so forth. Other notable ones, Uziri and Katsu kind of in the middle. Azalea, again, heavily underrepresented, and, it's just really surprising me. I think she's in a good spot. And some of the bottom, like Reinar at 5, Bolton at 4, and even an Arachne and a Riptide. So I think, if I'm remembering correctly, that's every single hero is being represented. If there's one off the top of my head that we're missing, I'm trying to think. I don't think there is. I think every single hero is represented, which is really cool to see. So my thoughts on the initial metagame. 1, the top is no surprise. We knew Lexi was the best deck going into the tournament, hands down. Obviously, Icelander can win, and some of the higher level players can convert really well. But overall, that's just how it is. Now, I did get some info on like what decks how many percentage of the decks went 4-0. This was given right at the end of the stream with Sam and them. They were just going over a couple of the decks. I don't have like the 4-0 percentage for every single deck. I only have it for 5 because that's the only ones they mentioned, and I couldn't find it anywhere else. So of 117 Lexis, 10% of them went 4-0. Now, if you do the math, that's around 11 to 12 out of 117 Lexis started their class constructed day of 4-0. That's pretty good conversion for 4-0, right? I actually expected it to be a little bit higher, so kudos to, the good metagame and people like really teching for it, and maybe, the Lexis also beating each other out. The top tables probably also made a big impact on it. But then we have Icelander. Only 3% of Icelanders made 4-0 on their class constructed, which equates to about 2 Icelanders. So of the 64 Icelanders, around 2 to 3 of them went 4-0. You then have Bravo. Only 1.7% Bravos went 4-0, and that's out of 57. And if you do the math, that's basically one Bravo. It's either one or two. One or two Bravos went 4-0. And then Dromai had a 6.3% 4-0 conversion, which equates to about 4 to 5 of the 63 Dromais went 4-0. And then finally, Uziri was the last one they mentioned, where 4.5% Uziris made 4-0, which out of the 22 means like one Uziri. So as you can see, the metagame is very, very competitive. Even though there are certain heroes that are dominating representation, when it comes to like win and loss, like there's no easy wins no matter what hero you have. Even Lexi, the most dominating one at 10%, you know, there were still 110 Lexis, 108 Lexis that didn't, you know, that lost a match in their constructed. So pretty good there to kind of look at and then I'm gonna kind of give a quick breakdown and talk about like just the certain sections. They showed this on the stream, so as you can see, like these are the top 5 heroes. Briar's very good, I think, into the top meta, so I'm not surprised that she ran into this, but all this is pretty standard. Seeing Bravo's lack of conversion, he's actually had a history of that lately, which is really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how many of them actually made day 2, and we'll get that meta breakdown when the stream starts. It's probably started as I'm recording this, to be honest, or it's about to start. It's about to start in like an hour. And I'm trying to upload this like right before the day starts. I got a late start this morning. But if we look at like some of the later represent heroes, I wanted to talk about a couple of them. One, Leviah being that low, I think Leviah's in a good spot. I think a lot of people just aren't taking the time to learn the maneuverability of the hero. Not to say like I know them all or anything like that, but I think that she's in a good spot. I think Uziri's actually in a good spot as long as you can avoid the Dromai matchup, or you just like heavily play into trying to match up with Lexi. However, she does have some bad matchups right in the Dromai and Icelander for the most part. Dorinthia is a really good one. So there's 2 heroes that Brian Gottlieb mentioned, I think, if I remember correctly. One he definitely mentioned. I think he mentioned the second one. The first one that he definitely mentioned that he thought was in a good place in the metagame that I agree with is Azalea. And I said this in a prior video. I think Azalea is actually the counter pick right now into the top 3. Azalea has a great Lexi matchup. She's probably one of the 2 heroes that can safely say I am slightly favored in the Lexi, which is Uziri and Azalea. And she has a good Icelander matchup as long as she can push through that disruption and you know how to maneuver that matchup. It's very losable, but people who have experience in that matchup know how to play it. And then Dromai is a very difficult matchup. It is not favored by any means, but top Lexi players know how, Azalea players know how to play into that matchup. We even saw Levi Rauch on stream yesterday, who went 4-0 in CC, by the way, on Azalea, completely just have a master class against the Dromai and end up winning that one out. So I think Azalea's in a great spot. The second hero that Brian Gottlieb mentioned, I believe, if I remember correctly, was Dorinthia. I think Dorinthia has a really good spot for 2 reasons. One, her matchup, if she's playing Dawnblade, even though we talked about the meta game spread on Talishar, on Dawnblade, she does pretty well in all 3 matchups. She can race Lexi down if she hits the right cards. Icelander, she can push through. It's a very skill-intensive matchup, but she can win that matchup. And then Dromai, it's like free counters all day, and really skilled Dorinthias can just prey on a Dromai potentially. So I think Dorinthia has a good slot as well. It's going to be interesting to see how many of those made day 2. Hopefully they did well in their draft portion. And also, a lot of people just aren't getting, like Brian Gottlieb said, practice against a Dorinthia. Like, you may have played a few games, but when you're testing, you're not going to play 50 matches against a Dorinthia because the representation is not going to be there enough for you to do that. And you might not have people playing in the gauntlet decks, like playing with those heroes. So I'd keep an eye out to see if any Dorinthias made it through draft. Draft always makes it a little bit wonkier because you could have had a Dorinthia who went 4-0 and then 0-3 their draft, and now it doesn't matter. But that's one to keep in mind. And then at the bottom, having this many Prisms is actually surprising. I wonder if people are just passion projecting and like playing their favorite hero for Nats, which is possible because to see Prism being as high as Rhinar and Bolton, like Prism should be down here. Prism should be like 1 or 2, but it is what it is. So that's kind of where the breakdown was to kind of talk about. And I'm not calling anyone else on Twitter. I'm just looking at some of the ones. So Levi Rauch, I want to call him out, going 4-0 on Azalea, followed by 1-2 in draft, dropping from Nats to play the calling. So he ended up dropping after going 1-2. So he went 5-2 on day 1. Probably thinks he can't make it in. He said, I'm not very good at Monarch draft, and I would like to have 3-0. And I would have to 3-0 my pod to have a chance at top 8. Gonna play CC all day tomorrow with my favorite hero instead. So there is a chance that Levi could get into top 8 if he aced the last 3 draft, because day 2 starts with 3 rounds of draft and then finishes with 4 rounds of CC. So he just thinks like, hey, I'm not very good at Monarch draft, so like I'm not going to waste half my day playing a format that maybe I don't enjoy and maybe I'm not as good at. I'd rather just play my favorite hero at Nats, have a great time, play the calling, it is what it is type thing, right? So going into draft, there was a couple opinions on Twitter, like from notable players, from Yanji Lee, Mo Bogsley, Mansant, Mara, talking about the Monarch draft system. So right now, Monarch draft, I believe the boxes or the packs, I'm not 100% sure, someone correct me in the comments below, are like randomly seeded. So like judges can't take a box of 4 boxes, like a case together, and put it like in a certain pod. So like you don't know, or the packs themselves, I think even the packs themselves are randomly like shuffled up and seeded from boxes to boxes. So you don't know what you're going to get. So like the pull rate is not consistent as you're passing packs and passing things around, because like imagine you buying 10 boxes and you're trying to pull a legendary, but you buy 10 random boxes from different cases. The chances of you pulling like things consistently is very low, because like usually those things are wrapped up inside of a case or inside of a certain box. So if you keep like changing them around, it's going to be it's not going to be consistent, right? I will say this before I get into the comments, like they're constant. The one thing I will hit LSS on, and normally I try to not be negative, but the one thing I will say is their constant like attempt to make draft more random is a little bit frustrating. They keep like, there was one where they like had a different like print run or whatever during one draft set, so like people couldn't like have, it was harder to have calls on like who took what because things weren't consistent. And then like, do they do this with the random seeding? Like I feel like drafts should, it should benefit players who know how the packs are laid out, how things are laid out in boxes, things of that nature. Like there is a skill gap of knowing what your opponent probably took to your left or right. And for the fact that they keep trying to make it random, I don't know what the reasoning is. I haven't looked into it, so I'm not going to be too critical, but it's just a little frustrating. Like I feel like draft should be like the pinnacle of like that memorization and that type of pattern recognition, and they keep trying to like just not let that happen. But Yanji Lee said, feeling very frustrated about Monarch draft format. It's not an enjoyable difficulty and feels very unrewarding to play. I will say Monarch draft is a little bit wonky. It's more of an opinion-based thing. Some people like it, some people don't. But Mabaga said, took 20... Ethan Manson said, I honestly thought I enjoyed Monarch draft until the random-ass seeding at Nats. I opened a foil Soul Shield and a foil Spill Blood in the same pack. Maybe it's random seeding in the actual packs. That would be crazy. Judge says to continue as normal. Open stream, 5 gallantry open in a pod. So 5 gallantry gold, I guess we're opening a pod. A complete mess. I'm not a fan of Monarch draft either. Yeah, I took a loss today, Lumen Ascension. It just seems like there's some people are just saying it feels bad because some of the cards are hitting. But it seems like the random seeding, however that's happening exactly, is frustrating some people. And it's very interesting to see, because the draft seems like it's a consistent discussion point at every major like nationals or worlds event, alongside Blitz. And I think they need to make the format whatever it is, right? I'm not a connoisseur on like how to do it, and that's why I'm not trying to be so critical. However, I will say whatever they can do to make the format more consistent, I think is what they need to do. They need to reward people for having pattern recognition. You need to reward people for knowing the pack layouts, knowing box layouts, like as much as you possibly can to make the format good. But that's all I'll say. No more negative stuff. We'll continue on. Tarek Patel, a notable, professional player, if you were to call him that, like top player, is did like some fun guerrilla coverage. So if you're not familiar with like some of the notable players in Flesh and Blood, maybe you're new to the game, new to the community, and you just want to get to know like some of the like higher level players, he did like a whole thread talking about just people saying like, I guess friends and stuff, like saying, hey, my name is, Tyler Horsepool. Hey, I'm Majin Bay. This is the hero I'm playing and why. So all these players here in this list are very notable players. Jacob Ball, Vor, Tyler Horsepool, Majin Bay, You know, all these people that are just really, really good. And so if you're wanting to get kind of like just a fun way to get to know some players, if you're not familiar, this is a good one to go to. And finally, just another one of the card guys. I love their channel. I wanted to call them out. All of them going 5-2 day one, except for Nam, who ended up dropping. But, you know, consistently good results and different heroes. Dorinthia on Josh. I mean, Josh on Dorinthia is like really good. Will and Sebastian on Lexi, and then Nathan on Briar. So hopefully they all have a good day too. Even Alex, who was doing 6-2 at the PTI, did really well. So really excited to see them do well. But yeah, so that's how day one went. Hopefully that was a good enough wrap up for you all, just kind of talking about different things. I'd love to know more about the seeding with the draft, the random seeding. Is that in packs? Is that in the actual pack itself? Is that mixing up packs? Whatever it may be. It seems like some people are frustrated with it. Maybe it's just, you know, end of day frustrations, and the next day they're fine, which it may very well may be. But regardless, definitely check out these articles. I'll try to link them all in the video down below. Get this up quickly before day 2. And yeah, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll keep doing updates like this. Hopefully give you a full meta breakdown on different nationals once everything is concluded. And I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.